Our border policy is a joke.
So is anybody surprised that south of the border they're laughing at us?
Every night, thousands of these parasites stream across the border like some piñata exploded. It's about decent, hard-working Americans falling through the cracks and getting the shaft because their government cares more about the constitutional rights of a bunch of people who aren't even citizens of this country. And this isn't something that's going on far away. This isn't something that's happening places we can't do anything about it. It's happening right here.
Well, this country's becoming a haven for criminals, so what do you expect?
What's up, guys? Spenny. Check out some of this footage from a failed nation state in Africa that's in wholesale collapse. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's from the front lines of Ukraine, looks like it. Oh, no. You know what? I apologize. This is from Los Angeles, like 2 months ago. You know, I get it all confused, right? Like the failed, collapsed societies, the riots, the burning of the cars and the waving of foreign flags, and, you know, all of it just kind of blends together. The difference between some failed anarcho-tyranny state and LA is virtually nothing at this point. Because in LA, they were able to organize and take over the streets in a very coordinated fashion with military tactics, and they were able to get some real damage done before a ton of feds cracked down. Boy, look at these bombs that they are literally throwing on these cop cars. Look what they were able to do to these vehicles. You know, somebody has to be coordinating all this. Somebody has to be, you know, making this happen. Now, if you pull the thread just a little bit, you'll find that in this hysterical video from 2024, Hillary Clinton and the Soros family are on stage with Joe Biden. And they're both getting medals. Oh, yes. The nation's highest honor. So what is this kid, very creepy kid, by the way, of a foreign billionaire getting a medal from the President of the United States after accomplishing, well, virtually nothing, tell you that maybe he has accomplished quite a bit? You know, this is Alex Soros right here, and Alex Soros is in charge of the Soros Open Society Foundation. His father is well up in years, and it's like 95 years old now. I don't think people assume that George Soros is really in charge of anything anymore, but nonetheless, he represents the Soros family. This is obviously the archetypical globalist family that funds open borders, street chaos, gangs, and violence whenever they get a chance. We know this because, well, it's literally been written out and reported on. According to the Capital Research Center, Soros Open Society gave terrorists and pro-terror groups over $800 million. Boy, that seems illegal. Look at this extensive report. Look at all the receipts. Oh, no. Oh, no. Shucks. Be a shame if somebody investigated them and finally, you know, decided to say we're not going to allow the funding of terror groups, left-wing terror groups in our land now that the president's eaten a bullet. Charlie Kirk was shot and killed in a political assassination. Left-wing radical extremism is absolutely overtaking the nation. Maybe it's time to look into the funding and organizing sources of this chaos. And Trump has done just that. Trump orders DOJ to target Soros-funded group as prosecutor eyes indictments of Comey and Letitia James. The gloves are officially off. President Trump said, "You killed my friend." Charlie Kirk wasn't like a friend. I physically watched backstage President Trump call Charlie his son, his boy. He was like a son to him. And Trump's acted like it. And now Trump's out for revenge. Multiple U.S. attorney's offices are drafting plans to investigate a grant-making group funded by billionaire George Soros. The directive instructs prosecutors in at least a half dozen offices to consider charging the group with support of terrorism. It comes a day after multiple media outlets confirmed the indictments of Comey and Letitia James. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche's office sent a directive obtained by the New York Times instructing offices to target President Trump's political enemies. It was communicated U.S. attorneys' offices in California, New York, Washington, Chicago, Detroit, and Maryland. The directive suggests that prosecutors consider a wide range of charges against Soros-funded open society foundations, including racketeering, arson, wire fraud, and material support of terrorism. Goodness gracious. The group denounced the accusations as politically motivated attack on civil society, meant to silence speech. When power is abused to take away the right of some people, it's a right people at risk. Amazing. Nobody cared when President Trump was having his house raided at gunpoint or getting charged with 600,000 years in prison. But anyway, let's continue. A lawyer in Blanche's office responsible for communicating to federal prosecutors around the country pointed to a recent report by Capital Research Center as the basis for the claims. I just showed you that report. The report says that the Soros group has poured 80 million. 80 million? I think it was. Oh, 80 million. I misread it. I said 800. 80 million. Let's correct that. 80 million into groups tied to terrorism or extreme violence. The Open Society Foundation, funneling money to Palestinian human rights group Al-Haq, Israel claimed was a front for terrorist activity. Capital Research Center monitors liberal money movements in politics, saying asked prosecutors in multiple jurisdictions to determine if the allegations of the report are justified in opening up a criminal case. The directive tells U.S. attorneys to prepare to submit their investigative plans soon. Open Society Foundation maintains that it does not fund terrorism. Our activities are peaceful. That's what they always say. That's what a terrorist would say. Trump has always said that in the past he wants Soros to be put behind bars. After Charlie Kirk's political assassination, the president singling out the Soros Foundation told NBC News that the mega donor is a bad guy who should be in jail. His remarks echoed an August social media post on Truth Social, where he says that they should be using RICO to go after them. Here we go. This is that post. George Soros, the wonderful radical leftist son, should be charged with RICO because of their support of violent protests. Much more throughout the United States. We're not going to allow these lunatics to rip apart America. We're never going to give it so much of a chance to breathe and be free. Soros and his group of psychopaths have caused great damage to our country and includes crazy West Coast friends. Be careful. We're watching you. Thank you for your attention to this matter. At least there's no subtlety in Donald Trump, right? Justice Department official pushes a prosecutor to investigate George Soros. The directive suggests the department leaders are following orders from the president. Major break from decades of past practice meant to insulate the agency from political interference. Here's what the Open Society Foundation posted to 500 likes. So not viral. Open Society Foundation condemns terrorism, and we do not fund terrorism. Our activities are peaceful and lawful. Our grantees are expected to abide by human rights principles and comply with the law. These accusations are politically motivated attacks. First Amendment right to free speech. Power is abused to take away the rights of some people, puts the rights of other people at risk. Our work in the United States is dedicated to the strength of democracy and upholding the constitutional freedoms we stand. We work to improve the lives of the United States across the world. That is a bald-faced lie. The terrorism charges, I'll let the investigators speak for themselves, along with reports like this one, which I will show you, and I hope that you go ahead and read it. The link will be in the description. However, when it comes to upholding like the Constitution and all this garbage, like that is a absolute effing lie. And it makes me angry. You know, Open Society Foundation is like this central nexus, like organizing hub for globalists and open borders that they literally call the Open Society. They want effectively to destroy the West and destroy the West through unlimited criminal immigration from the third world. And they've damn near succeeded, you know, all throughout Europe and maybe even in this country. But we're fighting that back. And that's not constitutional, by the way. Like just opening our borders and letting 30 million, third world criminal aliens wash upon our shores. That's like just a Marxist play to collapse a functional society. So no, this is not a good organization. No, they do not deserve medals. Yes, they deserve massive criminal investigations. DOJ orders at least 6 attorneys to investigate the organization funded by wicked Democrat billionaire George Soros. Several charges, material support of terrorism. Oh boy, here we go. Amen, says Mike Davis. For many years, Soros has funded left-wing political violence. Enough is enough. It's time to take off the gloves and put in prison these Soros terrorists. Thank you, Pam Bondi. Make criminals prisoners again. That's right. The Trump administration, of course, has promised, Stephen Miller promising, as God is my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the DOJ, Homeland Security, and throughout the government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks. We will do it in Charlie's name. So they are making good on that promise. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the author of this report, if you care to listen, who spoke with Glenn Beck, who's probably the best George Soros reporter on earth, the George Soros expert. Spoke with Glenn Beck, and Glenn asked, like, hey, yo, what could you put Soros in jail for? And the answer was really something. Have a listen.
I want to go to Ryan Morrow. I talked to him earlier today because one of the things that we have to do is we have to stop the funding of all of these things that are on the left that we have honestly now started to find out. I mean, I've been exposing this stuff on chalkboards for years and years, almost 2 decades now, and how the George Soroses, et cetera, of the world are funding all of the worst of the worst. And Ryan has done his work and has really come up with some smoking guns, especially on George Soros. Donald Trump can use as RICO charges. And Ryan is here to lay this all out. What did you find, Ryan?
Well, we had some amazing findings according to George Soros's own files from his Open Society foundations. So myself, my colleagues at Capital Research Center, basically went through as many grants of his, as many funding streams as we could find. And here's the smoking guns that we believe that President Trump, if he's informed of it, can use to go after Soros's network of hate in various ways. We traced over $80 million going from the Open Society foundations to at least 54 groups engaged in crime and domestic terrorism on U.S. soil, or that are pro-terrorism, endorsing things like the October 7th attacks, or are associated with foreign terrorist organizations or explicitly pro-terror groups. And this is according to his own files, so it's rock solid. And over all of that amount, over 23 million went to at least 7 groups that are doing things that meet the FBI's definition of domestic terrorism, including rioting and things like that.
Can you be specific, more specific than this?
Absolutely. I'm happy to. So the Center for Third World Organizing, for example, is an organization that has a hub that fused together several really extreme organizations. We found $400,000 going to them. And they openly boast of the fact that they threw down during the uprisings in Minnesota, obviously referring to the rioting, and boasting of how many thousands of people they helped train. A lot of these groups have created what they'll call like a protest guide or an activism toolkit, and it sounds innocuous. Then you open it up and you'll see support for Hamas in it, but then they'll sometimes slyly say, for more information, go to these hyperlinks. And you go to the hyperlinks and there'll be guides recommending things like property destruction, violence, false IDs, how to obstruct justice, all of these things, and they know darn well what they're doing. They don't put that there by accident. Some of the more careful ones will just direct their readership to anarchist websites with all that material, knowing that they'll see it when it's there. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really stunning. And some of these groups are coalitions. So when I say 54 groups, just one of those might have 300 entities in that one. So it's actually, the real number is actually much higher.